Oops, we're stuck in the box again, aren't we? Here we are in these little windows, forced because of technical issues or health issues. We're not going to tell you because it's still a party here on Cricbuzz Live. Because जब हम आए गए हैं यार दोस्त मिलके बैठ ही गए हैं क्रिकेट की बातें करनी, how does it matter if you're inside a box or inside a studio, which essentially is just a little larger box? And life is all about boxes. And I'm Gaurav Kapur, and today I have with me two people who constantly think out of the box, whether we put them in a tiny box or a big box. So here, with this boxing match that Sri Lanka and Afghanistan are going to play, I have with me Mr. Ajay Jadeja. Hello, sir. How are you?
Very well, sir. Very well, sir. But I miss you here in the location that is unknown to anyone. Yes. And I miss Joyda as well because, it's been a while since we've been in these little boxes. And it's just a grim reminder of those days where we didn't have a choice. So in a way, it's nice. It's always good to be reminded of times that were tough so then we can enjoy the good times ahead.
Yeah, but that's the good thing, right? That we have gone back to a format that reminds us of grim days, but there's nothing grim about today. So it's nice to go back and think about that with no reason to, right, Joy?
Look, the truth is you guys missed me too much, right? I came back to Delhi. I said, I have work in Delhi. You guys missed me too much. You said, okay, we want to do studio. We'll come, we'll put in the... Look, it's all about, I feel for you guys, but, I've got to spend time in Delhi as well.
And that's true. And the thing is that the reason why we're going virtual mainly, and I can tell everybody this, is because Joy is in Gurgaon and he couldn't take a flight and get in time to Noida, where we are. So the distance... That distance is too much. We can't let anybody sit in the car and do that. But anyway, the fact is that we're going to talk about cricket and we're going to obviously do it in the same irreverent way that we always do it with, of course, our senior, Professor Bhattacharya here to keep us errant children in line whenever we, are backbenchers after all. But today there's two teams here who are fighting because it is the Super Fours, and when you see you're up against India and Pakistan, and these two teams, Sri Lanka and Afghanistan today, have to take this chance because, with no disrespect, they are both playing a slightly easier opposition than India or Pakistan, who they both have to play. So, they both have to go in. But I guess for Sri Lanka, Ajay, it's, there's a little bit of trauma from the last meeting.
Yeah, the last meeting was totally unusual. You think of Sri Lanka, it's been around for so long, world champions at one time and, dominating world cricket, in fact, at one time. And to see them, what happened to them and, bowled out, in fact, in a 20-over game. And even that you see 19.4 is an aberration there because actually they could have been bowled out way before that. They were blown away by Afghanistan.
Skittled.
Skittled is the right word. And when they came out to bat, that was actually probably more of a punch that you didn't expect. With bowling of Afghanistan, you always expect that they could do wonders. But, it was a small total, I understand. But the way they came out and smashed the, Sri Lankan bowling. In fact, Sri Lanka had to, suddenly change their bowling lineup after that one game in that tournament. So that's how hard they were hit by Afghanistan. Yeah. So, but, Sri Lanka is still a decent side. I'm looking at this game and thinking it's an even-Steven game.
Yeah. Joy, let's talk quickly about this match is happening in Sharjah, but let's just quickly talk about that previous game, just not for scores, not for anything else, but just the attitude that Afghanistan showed. I think the mindset that they showed, they just figured that they were, how level unlocked, you do level unlocked in a video game. It was like they had done level unlocked to T20 cricket and how to play it.
No, absolutely. They changed the way they played. And I think the big thing about it is this is no longer a country who wants to win. This is a country who's looking at run rate. They want to win big. This is no longer a country that, oh, good Lord, I'm beating a full nation. What a big thing it is. This is our natural place. And if you look, that I think is the single most important way. One of the interesting things about this Sri Lankan side is this Sri Lankan side will go through lots of ups and downs. It's a very young side. It's a very talented side, but there are a lot of players who are like breakthrough players. Now, what happens when you have a young and talented side is you have lots of ups and you have lots of downs as well. So you're going to, your performance is going to go up and down, and there's not very much you can do about it.
You got to say, in all fairness, Shikhar Dhawan took a team with Rahul Dravid, if you remember, that must have been, what was that, a year back to Sri Lanka, right? When 8 members of the Indian team were not available in the end towards COVID. That was 1 year ago, right? And at that time, we were talking about a Sri Lanka team. We were saying, oh, they're rebuilding and they're doing stuff and they got the T20 wins against India. It's the same personnel. But a year later, we seem to be saying kind of the same thing. So I think this is a good opportunity for them, Ajay, to just look at and say, all right, listen, there's only that long we can get people to just talk about our potential and that we're rebuilding our side. It's about time we completed this building and, got a few wins.
Yeah, I think Joyda made that very interesting point about a young side. And like you said, it's a rebuilding phase where you get that and you won a couple of games there and then the downside. Because the talent is around there. It's not that they aren't, good enough. It's just that, when they come good exceptionally well. They're just not consistent. And I'm in this case, I'm talking about the batting and especially the top 4, 5 guys. They're capable. I mean, so that has been their worry. I mean, you haven't put enough runs on the board, and then your bowlers look much weaker than they are. Because had Afghanistan been chasing 210 the other day, even with that great start, they would still had a chance to come back. So it's the batting, I think, that has not, given them that solidity that you want or the consistency. I think their quality, like Joyda rightly put out, that the quality is such that on their good day or on their great day, they can knock any team off. Yeah. In fact, even in that last game when they bowled out for 105, if you look, they were very quickly 3 down and the partnership went on. When they were 3 down from till the time they got 4 down, I can't remember the exact number. But at that phase, they looked pretty good. They could come back. But it's that consistency that you're looking for in those batters is what is missing. And that's why they've not been able to rebuild, like you said.
A few things going in Sri Lanka's favor today. One is the surface. They're playing in Sharjah. So that kind of takes away from Afghanistan's natural strength a bit because Afghanistan, they like to come out, they like to play big. This is not a pitch that has been doing that. This is a very different Sharjah we see. It's a very slow and low kind of, sixes are tough to come by. This is not a surface that's allowing that free-flowing attacking batting. And secondly, they won the toss and decided to chase. So again, for Afghanistan, who's, kind of a, you've seen them chase. Now, suddenly, Joy, they're up with a task saying, okay, we need to set a score now. What's a good score? What's a good score in Sharjah? How do we go in the power play? Batting first, it becomes very different because you have to set the pace. You're proacting. You're not reacting like when you're chasing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the single most important thing. I've often talked about this, and with Ajay and me, this whole thing about that, having those 1 or 2 batsmen in the side who upfront go up and say, gauge the pitch. This is a 160 pitch. This is a 180 pitch. These conditions are like this. Let's not try and get 200. We'll get out for 140. Let's try and get 160. It's a decent pitch here. Or let's try and get to 145, 150, and then let's see if we can't push it beyond the last few overs swinging our bats. That is going to be a crucial decision for this team because see, they have the with Zadran, with they have the kind of Gurbucks. They have a lot of power in that batting order.
I want to add something. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's another piece of good news for Sri Lanka is that tormentor in chief from the last game, Cricbuzz, is actually out because of illness. Oh. So he's not playing. Yeah, Cricbuzz is out, isn't he? Cricbuzz is out. Yep. So let's have a look at their playing 11. We're waiting. There's some other changes as well. Okay, sorry, Joy. Please carry on.
Yeah, because I thought Shinwari came in for this one, Omarzai. Yeah, but there seems to be something out there.
The trauma is back for Sri Lanka because Cricbuzz is in.
Okay.
The very short window where there was no trauma.
That
was quick. I got him back. Cricbuzz was unwell, but I gave him some dawa and dua both, and he's back. But yes, so Omarzai, who bowled the one most lucrative over for Sri Lanka's batting, at least.
I think it's 1 for 21, right?
Yeah, I think 20 odd that he gave. And Shinwari is there in his place. So I think Ajay won't like that because you liked the pace at which Omarzai was bowling in, weren't you? But anyway, I think he's ill, so he's not there. But there you go. That's the team. So a little bit of trauma there for them again because their wreckers in chief are all there. But here's the thing, Ajay, your thoughts on the fact that when, a team can, it's very different, right? Batting first and chasing in T20 cricket. And especially then when you add the little tadka of a Sharjah kind of pitch, which is just kind of, it's become a bit of a drag recently.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost like selection or rejection. When you're batting second, it's rejection because you just have to do what the scoreboard asks you to do. Whereas when you bat first, you've got to gauge all those things that Joy was referring to. What would be a good total here? Who are the bowlers that we might be able to, score against? Is it going to get difficult when you get to a stage when the ball gets older or not? Or is it going to get easier? So there are a couple of things that you've got to make a decision. So there the experience comes into play. Having said that, I think Afghanistan probably doesn't have that problem, because that's a problem where you have players who play at different gears or try and play differently in different situations. Looking at Afghanistan, that what we've seen Zazai, we've seen Zazai over the years. Gurbaz, is a man who's possessed at this moment. It's almost like an audition happening for him. What can he do in the IPL? Then their batting orders, all heavy guns. They just keep going. So maybe that should not be a problem, but you still have to do that because you're not pushing yourself to your limit at times.
Yeah.
Most teams do that, but those are big teams. I think the teams here, no disrespect to Afghanistan, but they are still at a stage where I don't think they will play within themselves. And especially the way they've played in this tournament, they've come out and all guns blazing at every stage of the game. So I'm expecting them to do that. The problem is if they lose 2 wickets, in that start when you're trying to go for it, anything can happen. Say you lose Gurbaz and Zazai, then what happens? Then is the only decision making. And if they carry on going the way they know how to play, I think 2020, this is the way you got to keep going, because there isn't time to assess so much. Because if you were equal teams, yes, you got to assess. But when you feel you're a superior side, then you got to go and try and crush the opposition no matter what stage you're at.
Yeah, and I think Nabi also said very clearly that, and we saw in that last match as well, where he says that, okay, Ibrahim is going to play that role for us, right? Because he's good at rotating the strike. He holds one end, and when he holds one end, and we're confident that he will bat right through to the death overs and not let that wicket go, then we can attack from the other side. So, it's a big ringing endorsement, Joy, from the captain, and very clear. And I think it's just such simple thinking, right? One guy, all right, you just keep rotating the strike. We don't mind if you're going at 110, 115, and you give the license to everybody else to kind of go and blaze at 150 strike rate.
Yeah, in fact, that's what they're saying. They might not just have had the toss, because Afghanistan picking this side is also saying that I am actually want to bat first. Because Omarzai is really a bowling all-rounder in the sense that he can bat a bit, but he's a bowling all-rounder. Whereas Shinwari is far more of a batsman. So what they'll probably do is that they'll get it in. Also, what's happening of the recent past, one of the things that in the Afghan think tank they've been talking about is the fact that I think they're batting Nabi too low. Nabi is a vastly experienced player. So if it's Ibrahim who does not get the role, if Ibrahim does not play the sort of anchor role, he gets out by any chance, Nabi will be the guy they'll be anchoring around. All the others are attackers, if you notice, whether it's Zazai, whether it's Gurbaz, whether it's Ibrahim Zardan, Najibullah Zardan, all the rest are attackers there. And I think that is how they want to play their game. 2 guys, one guy gets out, the other guy is Nabi. These are the 2 anchors. Everyone else sits around them. And, Shinwari could go ahead of Rashid Khan. I mean, he's really more of a batsman than Rashid Khan is. Though Rashid Khan, of course, as you know, and you're very fond of, as I said, he's always telling you, so he loves to bat. And he can really swing it. 3 overs left, he's quite a lethal player to have when you have.
I think it's one of my regrets in world cricket that we just don't see enough of Rashid Khan batting, because he's just so entertaining with that little helicopter of his, that little flick shot and the stuff that he does.
The baby helicopter,
the baby helicopter, right? Because there's only one. There's only one Black Hawk, right? There's only one big helicopter. But he does that. And that's what we saw in the Bangladesh game as well, Ajay, where Nabi got out, Ibrahim took that role, and we're going to show that as well. I mean, Bangladesh, of course, gone back without any win. Sri Lanka just scraping through, and Afghanistan dominating that group, because you remember in that group, which was called the Group of Death. So come closer to the mic when I say that. The Group of Death. There was Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. And it was Bangladesh that has deathed in that group and gone back, and it's Afghanistan who's completely bossed over this group. But let's talk about Sri Lanka on the other side. We're talking about Afghanistan's approach, and Afghanistan's approach is going hell for leather. Ajay, Sri Lanka seems to be at a bit of a loose end with who's the hitter. I mean, Kushal Mendis got all those lives in the previous game, and he got that 150 strike rate, 60. But you're looking at that and you're going, where is it coming from? Lanka's out of form. Okay, we've seen Shanaka, the captain, do so well in the domestic leagues, but he's not translating that big hitting here. I feel there's a little bit of there's a lack of form and some role confusion happening in Sri Lanka. Ki marega kaun?
I think lack of form is absolutely right. What you say, the lack of form. I think Sri Lanka doesn't play like like we were talking about Pakistan yesterday, how they approach the inning. Sri Lanka is not about these people will rotate and these people will hit. At this stage of Sri Lankan cricket, I think it's all guns blazing at all the time, and till the time that batsmen are still around, because they bat very deep. Don't forget Karura Ratne at that time. Even in fact, when they chased down, all credit to the young man. First game he was playing, he came in and made those crucial runs at the end. So if you look at Sri Lankan innings, not just this tournament, but generally, you don't see that spike happening at either at the start or either at the end. It's a general, it's one of those flat lines, like how the team spin. So all of them have pretty much similar kind of play. They all play in a certain way. Their styles of playing is pretty much similar. So it's on their day. So they just keep going. It's not a team where they say, okay, let's solidify at the first. Then we have a couple of these guys who are harder hitters than the other guys. Whereas their hardest hitting guys are actually 3, 4 and 5. They are the hard hitting guys the way I see. Shanaka has scored brilliantly. His numbers are looking good. But Shanaka is a very interesting player. He's not one of those power hitters. And he's not a 6 hitter. He's actually a 4 hitter. I mean, if I could.
He's a carver. He's a carver. He carves it out.
Yeah. So he's quite like, I'm not even trying to compare, but don't get me wrong. Like how we used to talk about Rohit Sharma. That Rohit Sharma, you never feel that he's one of the highest 6 hitters in the world.
Yeah.
But he does the job or gets that number. So Shanaka is that kind. The 6 malas and the guys who replace keep coming are the guys at 3, 4 and 5. Yeah. So they play in a different way. It's not end mein we need a power hitter. They still get to that total. They chased down what was that total they chased down against Bangladesh the other day?
180 odd, right?
180 odd.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you got 180, what does that tell you? You got that same score that everybody gets, but in a whole different style. Not leaving anything for the start. So you look at even the numbers. I mean, numbers. I'm not a big numbers fan, but those are facts. Yeah. Except for Mendis, who had a total different day. 45 of 33, 20 of 19. You'll have a few more of those. It's just that when these guys get, instead of 20s and 30s, the top guys get those 60s, then that score will go to that closer to that 200.
Yeah,
but
you see,
today is a different story.
Yeah, obviously it's because of Sharjah, but there is just the thing, Joy, that you look at their strike rates, right? Out of all the players that you have, out of all their batters that you have, the only one who has a strike rate more than 125, I think, is Kushal Mendis. He's the only one. You're not going to win games batting if only one of your players has a career strike rate, right? T20I career strike rate of over 125, because that means you're just there and thereabouts. You're always just getting scores of like 140.
No, you're absolutely right. I think they got in Bhanuka Rajapaksa just for that role. And Bhanuka Rajapaksa, if you see him in the IPL or what he's done, he's capable of that kind of innings. But I genuinely feel that the way they bat him a bit too low for him to really have that impact. When Kings Punjab got some value out of him, they were batting him at a 3-4 position where he had the license to come on and hit early. I think Ajay has made a very clear point. Whenever we look at these teams, cricket teams, especially who play tournaments, they're gharanas. Okay, this is your style. This is the Indian style, the top 3 style and all. And this Sri Lankan team is a very difficult team to say because they don't have a style. Number one. Number two is, who is running this team? Is it Chris Silverwood? We know he's sending these 2D and 5D messages. Or is it Shanaka? Whose team is it? Because that's a very important question. Whose team is it? Who runs this team? Whose philosophy does this team run by? And I think this is a team in transition, which is why we are getting, whenever you're trying to read a game for Sri Lanka, you're getting very mixed signals. Okay, they've got 180. But you know what? Kushal Mendis gave away about 4 chances in his 60 runs. Okay. Yes, they got 180, but Bangladesh scored 4 wides and about 4 no's and about 8 wides in their last 4 overs. Yeah. So none of this adds up to a narrative where we can tell you that, okay, this is the gharana in which Sri Lanka is going to approach the game. So they're a nightmare today for an analyst because you're looking at them and saying, okay, this player plays this way, this player, all of it doesn't fit together, you know.
It's right, yeah. Something is you're talking about gharanas, right? Just something feels out of tune here, right? कि थोड़ा वो सुर नहीं पकड़ पा रहे कि सुर क्या है?
Because the thing is,
yeah, क्योंकि आप जब सुर पकड़ लेते हैं, your song can be a rock song or a slow song or a 2-minute song or a 10-minute song, but you know when it's out of tune. It just doesn't, even if it's a hit, it doesn't matter because it was felt a little jarring and it felt a little out of tune. I think that's what's happening to Sri Lanka. But the other thing, of course, about this pitch, I got to talk about Sharjah. क्या हुआ शारजा को? बीमार हो? Are you not well? Do you also need dawa dua? Do you need an injection? What has happened? This used to be such a lively pitch, and then it went off to sleep, and then it's just not woken up from its slumber. Ajay, this is this the Sharjah you knew, the sleeping beauty?
No. I feel the pitch is pretty good. And we talked about this 2 days ago. Pitch is still the same. It is the outfield. If you realize the outfield is so slow. Okay. So when you look at the game, last 2 games also, the number of sixes are all probably the same that you used to get. It's the boundaries that you're not getting. Yeah. And boundaries, it is such a slow outfield that, and this is an old trick of Sharjah cricket ground. And I have said that 2 days ago as well, that the groundsman there has been so smart over the years that he's got 2 styles of pitch, and then he's got 2 styles of outfield as well, because that outfield is so heavy that imagine for a fast bowler a batsman playing off a fast bowler, the short fine leg is chasing between him and the wicketkeeper and still manages to stop that ball from going from boundary. That doesn't happen in Sharjah when the outfield is fast. So if they've moved the outfield today, then you won't complain so much about the pitch, because the pitch was pretty good. Yeah. See, even yesterday, when you watch that Pakistan-Hong Kong game, what was it? It was same what India did in the first 10 overs because of Rahul, and they had to get back and forth. 10 overs, we got 70. They, in fact, got 65. But when you change your gear, that pitch is nothing to do with... It's how you are also thinking at that stage of time. But outfield, yes. This outfield, this time, the 2 games that we've seen, has been so slow compared to any other ground, or in fact compared to Sharjah. Sometimes you beat the point fielder, the ball never stops. Now you see a third man go stop it, and what that does is that the bowler has not been hit for a 4, and the batsman who hit that shot has gone off strike. So now we keep hearing, with Parthiv you get this young man's mindset and you understand them. Like when you get a boundary, that means that's the over to cash in. So right, so that batsman is not in that mindset. The bowler is not gone defensive. Hence, the game is looking a little different. So if the outfield gets faster, I think we'll all stop complaining about the wicket.
Fascinating perspective. Love it. We actually answered this, but I still want to get it on because it's our Ask Cricbuzz live question. We kind of spoke about it a little earlier. We tend to do this. We tend to answer and then ask the question because this is an upside down show. Sharjah has proven to be a tougher track for boundary hitting than Dubai. In that light, how should teams go about their innings while batting first in order to maximize their target score? This came in from Lakshman. You just got the explanation, Lakshman, from Ajay about the outfield. And I guess the answer is pretty simple. Don't rely on boundaries. Hit sixes. Simple, eh? Outfield doesn't come into play then. And that's exactly what Zadran did. Sorry, yes, Ajay.
No, and one is that, and if you see people who love numbers, go back and see how many 2s do you get in Sharjah when the outfield is fast, and at this time you're getting a lot many more 2s because the fielder doesn't get to the ball.
Yeah, no. Also because it's actually it's actually a small ground, and small grounds you don't see those many 2s happening, but because it's a slow ground, you end up getting 2s and not that many 4s. So it's quite interesting. It's not the pitch. It's the outfield. But let's talk about Najeeb for a second, because he's been very impressive, Joy, for Afghanistan.
Sorry. Look, I just want to go back to that previous point. Apparently, there is a restaurant in Sharjah, bang opposite, in the road bang opposite, who actually used to basically make sure that Chris Gayle batted at one particular end so he could reach it. So Chris Gayle and Rahul Tewatia will always get free food at that restaurant because the amount of publicity they got. Because it will always go to the ground, the camera would pan to them and they say, oh, it's gone to that restaurant there again,
And also, some of them is actually, I think they have so many of those cricket balls now that I think they can probably like have a curry of cricket balls. With it.
Correct,
And also,
correct.
cricket balls are expensive. They're more expensive than truffles.
Yep, they are. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they are.
Five
But
and a
yeah.
half ounces. 5.5 ounces of truffle cost how much?
Hey, we should
Don't
check
even
this out
want to
actually.
start.
Yeah, we should check this out. We're going to come back. When we come back in the mid show, after
Yeah.
the first innings, we're going to compare that, right? 5.5 ounces of truffle versus 5.5 ounces
yeah.
of cricket ball.
Correct.
Also, we're going to tell you how much an ounce is.
Yeah, true. It's true. I wonder why we still talk about ounces, but
How many
5
grams is an
ounces
ounce?
is 156 grams.
There you go. There you go.
I
So
love it.
128 grams to 1 ounce. So there you go. There we're learning. All right, but let's talk about Najib real quick and
Yeah.
his six-inning ability and how impressive he has been and how impressive he was in Sharjah the other day.
I think he is what the Sri Lankans expected of Charita Asalanka this tournament. And he's just the one who's been doing it. And I think he's a combination of power. He's been given a good position. He's been given responsibility. And if you notice the way he's been playing, he's coming in ahead of the Nabis and all the world. So there's very clearly designated that you are our main batsman. You are our Virat Kohli. You are that number 3, number 4 batsman that we're looking at. And I think it's really important to give these roles up front and say that, okay, you are our designated attacker.
Yep.
And he's been doing a fantastic job. I mean, I think he hits through the line. He's got power. He's got finesse. He's a package right now. And look, the one great thing is that players need to capitalize on the time when they're getting runs. Right now, this is his tournament. He's getting runs. He just needs to continue.
And he likes hitting pace, Ajay. And today he is, we've got inexperienced quicks bowling for Sri Lanka, relatively less experience. So he could go after. But I mean, he just goes after stuff. That's what you like about him, right? He's kind of young and just, throws his bat at it and connects. I mean, 6 sixes the other day and the innings that he played, that's one that you remember for a while.
Yeah, you will remember sixes in one innings is a lot of sixes, and 17 balls is what he faced. Sometimes it's easier coming in at that stage where you got to go only one way. Some players like that. It'd be interesting to see if he walks in at 35 for 3 or 4. Then or when he's there and he loses a couple of wickets. Then from there to take it to that stage where you get into this free zone of hitting. I still haven't seen him hit sixes at the top of the order or, over number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
So he's come in at a good stage and the totals they were chasing or the situation that they were in, he had that freedom to do that. But you got to have the ability to do it as well. I mean, I want to hit sixes. I just can't do it every time. So some people have that ability to hit sixes, but when they are free to just do that and the bowler is defending all the time, but whereas when the bowler's waiting for a mistake that you're going to make in your over number 7 and 8, at that time, will he be able to, move around the game is the only trouble if they get into
Nice,
that.
good point.
So the key is that.
Can he
Who
adapt?
picks up those wickets at the top?
Yeah. Can he adapt is the question because.
And him versus Hasaranga, I think that is the duel of this match.
Yeah.
Him versus.
I would want him to win, not Hasaranga.
All right, let's get a joy factor question in before we do our score guesses, which are very difficult to do in Sharjah, but we're going to attempt it anyway. But here's the question.
Who eclipsed Devendra Bundela's domestic record? And I'm not telling you which record in 2009. And just the cricketer and the record. Devendra Bundela, as Ajay would tell you, is a prolific domestic player. Who eclipsed his record?
Thinking. Amol Mazumdar.
Ooh.
Amol is before him.
I have no idea. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live on Twitter. Send in your answers. If you know them, you know that Joy may give easy questions when he's not here, but when he comes, he likes to mix it up because he likes to see the pain on our faces. Yeah, he enjoys that a little bit. Sadomasochist that he is. Let's get our score guesses in and see who goes where. Sharjah. We've got Afghanistan batting first. Get your guesses in. Get your guesses in.
Okay, I think this is going to be up and down. The roller coaster of young sides. 161.
161. Okay. बड़े भाई आप
71 पे कांटा रुका हुआ है इस बार.
171.
But I have a rider in that. I've got to say, yesterday we predicted the power play score. The team didn't cross that.
Oh, wow. I have no idea what happened yesterday because it was my day off. So I have no clue what happened.
38 all out.
Once in a while. Yeah, wow. I didn't even know that. No, I did. I read the scorecard on Cricbuzz. All right, my guess is 181. क्योंकि कल नहीं मिले ना रन तो आज मिलेंगे हमें. As fans, we are only worried about that. So that's what's going to happen.
61, 71, 81. Wow, you guys are optimists. It's very
Joy-
clear who you think is going to win today.
Joyda,
180 was done here.
I think we are going by our birth years.
Okay. You just added 5 years to my life. Not that it makes much of a difference at my age.
The generation. I mean,
I'm fine with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Say no more. Say no more. 60s, 70s, 80s. We'll take it. We'll take it.
We'll take it. Absolutely, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about summer stalemate. Quick second. Cricbuzz Plus. Hope you've tuned in. Hope you have subscribed. It is, of course, about the India-England Test series that was played, and it's a two-part show that we have. It's got Michael Vaughan, Dinesh Karthik, and Harsha Bhogle talking about this memorable series, of course. And we're going to come back now at the end of the 10th over with Cricbuzz Combox. That will be a little update in the Afghanistan batting effort. And then again, after 20 overs, we'll be back with Cricbuzz Live. A big thank you to Ajay Jadeja and Joy Bhattacharya. I'm Gaurav Kapur. Please just keep your notifications on because as soon as we pop up on the Cricbuzz app, you will be notified and then you can join us. Don't miss nothing. Bye-bye.